Welcome to Prosperity in a Pandemic. And we are going to be joined by Becky Parker Geist, and we're going to be having a conversation about how she's been able to prosper during everything that's going on. So much so, she's actually quadrupled her business and been able to maintain growth authentically and truly supporting others through this. So this is not just about a money grab. This is like helping other people, and her clients prospering, she's prospering. And so we just really wanted to open up this discussion. So first off, Becky, thanks so much for taking the time to share what's going on in your life.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
It really is my pleasure. I'm definitely excited to share what's going on. And with noticing, so let's just start off like when all this started happening and we had the pandemic, begin, and it looked like maybe, hey, this is a short window that we're all going through. But when you started to notice that this wasn't going away and that we were going to be dealing with this for quite some time, what was the first thing or what was the most important thing for you at that moment? What was going through your mind?
Well, there was definitely that initial quieting down of life. It felt like this sort of blanket sort of settled over for a moment, and suddenly all these in-person events that I had scheduled over the next few months started to get canceled, and so everything was starting to shift online. But then in terms of like what is the most important to me and what has always, I think that's been consistent throughout, and that is like family and community. So being able to stay connected with my community was really important to me. One of the cool things that as that quiet, settled, and we started to see that it was going to be something much longer term, it became all the more important to really to reach out, to make those calls, to stay connected with not only our clients, but also just other people that I know, community, family. All of that actually increased as we were sheltering in place.
Yeah, so here we are, and they call it social distancing, but reality, it's like physical distancing,
Right.
right? That's happening, but your connection went up, is what you're saying,
Right.
with
Yeah,
others.
because, suddenly we're like all feeling in a way kind of isolated. I mean, I was fortunate in that I was, I had other people in our household, so I wasn't like totally isolated as many people are. But, um, I think that one of the most important shifts that we all had to make was figuring out how do we do this physical distancing and still stay connected socially, because that is so essential to our very nature, our very being. And so, in terms of my business, that really meant all the more outreach, all the more calls. And what was so beautiful is that it, and this was really different, and we can talk about this more later, I guess, but uh, when I was in the mode of like feeling like I had to pitch my services, it's a very, very different thing than heading into this pandemic, having already been working with you and having shifted that whole perspective. I wasn't calling to pitch anybody. I was calling to help people. And what I found was all the more people were feeling like they needed that connection, they needed that help, and they needed to be able to increase their own impact, which is something that I'm helping people do. So it was is in the pandemic, things actually have grown and increased. It's been pretty amazing and very moving, actually.
That's so beautiful to hear. I mean, and I think what's different, like you're right, since we were working together and I shared with you some of the things that I've already been doing for years and teaching a lot of my clients, is that we're not pitching, we're connecting with another human being and then seeing if we can help them. And if we can, then great. And then in this time of need, you've been able to, like, in a way, double down on your connection and then of course you're going to increase your business because again you're coming authentically and you're helping. So with all that going on, what would you say like during this pandemic has been the biggest result through these activities?
Yeah, biggest result. We got our biggest client ever. I mean, this is um, it's a huge project that we're working on. It's like the sweet spot. It's exactly what I love doing, um, and being able to work on that as well as other projects. What I found is that all the more people are actually reaching out to me also. So it's not, it's partly just the energy of reaching out, calling people, finding out how they're doing, checking in with them. But there's also like that starts coming back. People are calling me, emailing me, setting up calls with me, and so part of it is just responding, but responding in a really genuine way. One of the things that's been really interesting is more and more I've been hearing from people who set up calls with me how much they appreciate just that they get a chance to actually talk to somebody, not just get a written quote or you know just all email. So I'm actually taking the time, and initially it's just 10 or 15 minutes, but people really, really are appreciating that we offer that as part of our process.
So again, you're connecting with people and they're getting you, not just some email. And so they're getting that connection. And then this has allowed you to do more business and help others more. And then you close your biggest deal in your career, in your company, right during this
Yeah.
time. And with all of that, uh, what is having that do for you?
Oh, it's first of all, it having the biggest project ever has allowed me to hire more people in terms of the number of they're all 1099 and people, but they're all people who are in need of work, especially actors. Okay, so theater is not really happening right now, but voiceover is totally happening. And so I've been able to actually give more work to more people, uh, you know, continue with that whole the whole growth pattern in terms of our
Yeah.
team. But then also for myself, the work is so creative, so it's very inspiring and life-giving. And because of all the changes that we'd already implemented, then when the pandemic hit and all the physical events that calmed down, it was also a moment when I realized I could actually go be closer to family at this point. And so I was able to make a move in the middle of all of this, keep the business going and growing, and myself and our team prospering. It's been
That's so
amazing.
beautiful. That's so beautiful. And with all of this success, I I'm curious, like, what it probably wasn't always this way, right? And I know a bit about your background. So maybe you just share what was it like before this? Like what was the biggest challenge you were having before you're able to have this success?
Yeah. Well, I was, before we started working together, I was really wearing all the hats, doing all the work itself, and as well as doing the sales, marketing. I was doing everything. I was a sole proprietor, one person show, and you can only go, get so far as one person when there is a service that's connected with that. So there's actually my hours were required in order to generate that income. Um, and I wasn't able to support myself at that point. I was married, so I was relying a lot on my husband's income. That's kind of there's a disempowerment that comes with that, a kind of frustration that I was feeling around that. I'm not saying it has to be that way, but that's what I was feeling. I was feeling frustrated because I knew that I had a lot more potential than I was reaching. And as I started to work with you, the shift started to happen really quickly for me, um, and some really wonderful major changes were able to happen as a result of that. And it's just kept going. That's the thing that's so awesome.
It
Really awesome.
it definitely is when we can like reach into our power. And just so folks can hear a little bit of what was going on for you. So if I just say this back, you were basically working all of this on your own. I think even sometimes some of the beginning projects you were like the voiceover talent, and you were doing all of this. And I know some folks might not know what business you're in. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want to ask this question first. So there you are doing all this work. Your service is completely contingent on the amount of hours you're putting in. Your income is on that level as well. And then it restricted you from having the abundance that you have now. When all that was going on, how was that affecting you?
It was really frustrating, and I was pretty exhausted. My pattern was I would wake up in the morning, I would go till I dropped, and then when I just felt like I couldn't function any longer, I would go to bed. And that was pretty much 7 days a week. It's really exhausting. And I do have a family. My kids are, most are grown, but that doesn't mean that then I have to I should be working all the time. And it also doesn't matter that I love what I do. I need to be able to stop and to enjoy life in other ways. And I hadn't figured out how to do that. So I was pretty tired
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
kind of frustrated. Yeah.
7 days a week. I mean, any human being can only go so long without taking breaks. So you can understand how tiring that is. And just to get to that other question, just so people can have context, what business are you in, Becky?
Yeah, so typically I'm working with independently published authors and small publishers who have titles that they really care about. They want to have an impact in the world. They want to get them out there, but they feel frustrated because they haven't found all the avenues to make that happen. And so we help with audiobook production and audiobook marketing so that authors can reach a wider audience and have a bigger impact. So I like to say that
That's
because I know that we're changing the world one story at a time.
that's that's so beautiful, and so many voices needing to be heard right now in the world, as always, but even more so right now. So it's a beautiful thing that you can bring that to the world. And I guess, what would you say your core purpose or your mission?
Yeah, helping great stories come alive, because to change the world one story at a time, and to
There it
help our
is.
authors have a greater impact. Yeah, but really
Yeah. Yeah.
helping
So
great
you already
stories come
said it.
alive. Yeah.
That's it. So many folks listen to audiobooks nowadays all the time. I mean, even readers, like less people are commuting these days, but even if not, people are multitasking like crazy. I mean, I know, when we're just around the house or you're doing dishes or something like that, it's so easy to put an audiobook, or if you're working out. So I think even though less people are commuting, like getting in their cars, we're still having that multitasking. And if you can, get through another book, I still enjoy sitting down with a book. I really do love doing that. But there's such an amazing thing when you can pop on an audiobook and get content while you're taking care of something that's not taking up too much strategy, right? Like something that you're
Right.
just
Right.
doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think for a
that
lot
is,
of authors who are suddenly, also in the pandemic, not going out and doing other things, many of them are actually writing more and looking for ways to get their work out more effectively.
there is a lot of silver lining, right? I mean, and even some of the
Yeah.
things that we're talking about now, and we'll get, and just so everyone knows, because I'm really going to be bringing more people on from all around the world that are having, change in a prosperous way during this pandemic. Just so everyone knows, like, can you share where you're located? You don't have to give your street address or anything. No, I'm just but no, but like
Yeah.
where in the world are you located?
I'm now in Portland, Oregon, and I moved up here just about a month ago from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah, which is, you commented on that, so, which is amazing to move. I've known a few people. Like, I had another friend of ours. They sold their house like the week everything was shutting down. And so it's like crazy to be like homeless in a way during this time. They have another place now, but just to go through that transition during this. And you were able to do it, and like you said, you were able to do it and continue to grow your business. So that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was literally only out of the workflow for a few days while I was, but the team was on it, you know. And that wouldn't have been possible before when I was doing everything. That everything would have stopped while I was busy trying to deal with my life. Yeah,
Yeah, right, because it was all on you.
right.
Yeah.
There were so
And I
many
don't know if
things that
that's the
became
biggest
possible.
thing. Oh, go ahead. I was
Nope.
just, well,
I was
that's what I'm most curious. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, if you want one more comment, then I have another question. Go for it.
it was just that there's so many different uh, aspects of what became possible by not being the one who's doing everything. So many things. I mean, I can't. It would take longer than the entire show to like dive into any, to that list. But it wasn't a full list that I was aware of beforehand. If I'd actually like tried to think it through, oh, what would change if it wasn't just me trying to do everything? Um, yeah, huge list.
Well, and that's
It's
and that's
amazing.
kind of what, and even just to look what I put down here, um, you know, coming back to the success that you have now, um, I'm just curious, and we were talking about our working relationship, and I've been able to give you some guidance and help you with some of the inner game, the mindset. But what would you say? Maybe we'll have time for a couple, but let's just start with the biggest one. What is the biggest thing that shifted for you to allow this success right now? Like, what was the thing that you learned um, that allowed you to have this movement? If we were to pick one thing to start with.
I think if I had to pick one thing, I might say that you've helped me see the ways in which I can be more truly myself in business and to craft my life in a way that it's not all business, that I can actually be really living and enjoying my life as well as enjoying my business in a much more balanced, wholesome, healthy, fun way of
And
being
thank
myself.
you for that. Yeah, what does that mean? Can you explain? Like,
Yeah.
I get that because I've worked with you, but like, what does it mean that you could be yourself in business? What does that mean to you?
Well, it's like in a lot of it's about being transparent, about being willing to be vulnerable, about like when in some ways, it's even the difference between trying to pitch a service versus asking somebody, well, what's your biggest goal? What do you need? And not being afraid that it might not be a perfect match. That's okay. I'm looking for that perfect match. Um, but I think a lot of that sort of being myself is I would really hesitate to let anyone know if I was like struggling with something or like, oh, then it's not professional. We have these
Right.
ideas that like somehow it has to look like everything is perfect and smooth and easy, when if we can just be straightforward with people, it makes the whole conversation easier because it's easier to ask questions when I'm not like trying to be something, like trying to look in a certain way or behave in a certain way, I'm not like trying to put something on. It's like, it's okay. I can just be myself. I can ask genuine, caring questions. I am a genuine, caring person. So that works. And,
Right. Right.
you know, so I hope, yeah, I think that it maybe explains that.
I think so. And so now being yourself, being vulnerable, being authentic, and just asking questions, what is having that do for you now?
What allows me to connect with people on a much deeper level, um, so that I can better understand what their needs are, what their goals are, and if in fact I can really help them. And many times I can. I mean, authors are trying to have an impact, and what we're doing is facilitating that. And so, there are times certainly when it's not a perfect fit. But even then, I can help in some way. I can help them clarify, well, what's your goal? What are you going after? And is this the best path for you? Well, maybe it is, and maybe it's not. Um, I think it it allows me to really enjoy the conversation more, to feel more real, to yeah, I just think connect more deeply is maybe
Yeah.
the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for that, Becky. And I just want to do one sidestep for a second. I forgot to mention, those of you that wherever you're watching on all the different social media channels, we are going to answer questions as we get more into this show. Maybe I'll have time to answer some questions live. I'm not going to do that today unless we do have enough time in the next few minutes, because we are going to make this a 30-minute show. We're going to stop right at 2:45 Pacific time. So, but do ask your questions, because my team is going to be there and I will be there, and I'll look at our, wherever you are, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, or you're watching this on Twitter through Periscope or whatever you're watching on, then go ahead and put your comments and questions, and we'll be there. And even Becky, I know you're active as well. So if something pops up, we can all answer questions and be there
sure.
for
Yeah,
you. The purpose of this show, thank you, Becky. The purpose of the show is really to help bring some positivity and show that we can move and change, where things do happen, and we can make these changes. So Becky, when you get this deeper connection that you're having and having these authentic conversations, then when that happens, then what? Then what happens? What happens when you have that?
well then, first of all, I'm building relationships, and all of my life and work is built on relationships, and building those in a stronger, deeper way allows me to just feel better, but also to help more, to be of more service, to, when I recognize what somebody, if I'm vulnerable, then the people I'm talking to are going to be more open to being vulnerable, which means we're more likely to find the ways in which we can work together and help. And it just opens doors, it not only to just more business, but opens doors to new relationships, referrals that come in from people that I'm talking to. Um, and I'm able to give referrals to other people that may be, helpful. For example, we have a podcasting client who's fairly new with us, and then I she's interviewing people that and we have a couple clients that like fit the profile for the kind of content that she's interviewing about, and so I was able to connect to them. It's not a there's no like financial benefit to me. There is great joy that it brings me to be able to help all three of them. You know,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
good stuff. Yeah,
That's what's so beautiful. And really, when my kids ask me, like, Dad, what is business, at a younger age, when they were asking me these things, and I would say, well, business is supporting, guiding, helping others. How do you want to help someone? And I know not everyone thinks in those words, but that's always been there. Whether you have a product or service, what change are you making in someone's life? Even if you're entertaining them, putting a smile on their face, or getting them to not have to think about what's going on at that time, just to sometimes have that different expression. get us to think differently. There's so many things. It's not just like a tool, like, oh, I need a hammer to hammer a nail. Sometimes we just need a break and we need to laugh or have a toy or play a game, or listen to a podcast or read a book. So all these things are tools in our life, and we're able to provide those. So when you're able to do that, and what I'm hearing from you is like when you can have those authentic questions, authentic conversations that have the right questions, so you can see how you can help someone, whether you're referring them elsewhere, and there is no financial gain, or you're finding the areas that you can help people. It all comes. And now what I'm hearing from you, you've been able to quadruple your business, have your biggest client in the history of your company, and you're doing and growing and continually growing all the way through the pandemic, in doing this.
That's right.
Are we hitting the mark, or do you think there's anything else that's allowing you to have this success? Is there anything else we should mention that's causing this beyond just because this is huge. I want to say before you answer this is that, someone might be listening going, well, oh, just conversations, that's how you're making it. Yes. It is that simple. I found it in my business and many other people's business. When you have real conversations and you can help people, yes, business can be had, and actually in more of a simple way. And then you can have success like you're having, Becky.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is there anything that you think we should add, or yeah? Or is that it? Or is that the main thing?
And that's certainly the foundation of it. The Also the idea of working only with people that are our wow clients has been very helpful as well, because in the past I would take any client, and what I would find is, on occasion, if I took a client and it wasn't feeling like it was really a perfect fit, but I took them anyway because I thought, oh well, either they really need my help, or I really need the money. Those were kind of the things that were playing in my mind back before we started working together. And I always regretted those decisions, because we just weren't a good fit for each other. And I recognize that that's all, that they should have been working with someone different and I should have been working with someone different on both sides. It's not anyone's right or wrong. It's just a poor fit, right?
Yeah.
So having these genuine conversations allows that whole process to be so much easier. At this point, I very rarely come across somebody where it feels like, nah, it's just not a right fit. It may not be a right fit because either they're not ready or don't have the resources at that point, or any number of other things, but usually it's not that, just doesn't feel right. So I think that's been an important factor.
And that is huge. And we're going to not have enough time to go into the depth on that, but it is worth mentioning that I'm going to be continually doing for the rest of this year, what I call the Wow Client Webcast. And how do we actually do business? A lot of things we're talking about. How do we do business during this time, during this pandemic, and even the aftermath after it? What's the change going to look like? And how do we only work with who we're meant to work with during this time? Because that's like a crazy thing, because we want to reach for money. We're like, what are you talking about, Steve? Only work with wow clients. Then that means I'm going to have less clients. How am I going to do this? And in fact, I'm going to show on that webcast, and that's why we're doing it. And we're doing it free, just like we're doing this show. I wanted to have these interactions because I want to give back. We have solutions, and they're quite simple. And if you just apply them, then you can actually have what you want in your life right now, even during all of this going on. So I'm so glad you brought up wow clients, because it's a huge thing. And we're going to be and actually my team, they'll put a link to that if anybody wants to register for that. We're not charging for it, and we're giving a 90-minute training on how to do that. So I'd be glad to help more on that specific topic, Becky. It really is big, and we only have about a minute left, or maybe less. I'm just curious, so what's the next big thing for you? What are you thinking about with having all this success? What's next?
Well, we're continuing to grow the team, and because we have more and more projects coming in, we keep growing. And I think
So you're
what we're
hiring right
also,
now during the pandemic.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
we're
that's awesome.
yeah, and looking
We want
forward
to count
to,
that. Yeah.
yeah, okay, and looking forward to more big projects like this one because we're having so much fun with it, and it provides a lot of work for a lot of different people, which is fun too.
It's so beautiful. So, Becky, thank you so much for being on the show. I mean, to be able to be authentic, be vulnerable, have deep conversations, be there for others, help them get their voice out there and share their amazing story. And you're able to hire more people, put people to work. So, this is why this is so much bigger than just making profits. That's why we even call this prosperity in a pandemic, not profit in a pandemic. You're creating prosperity for the people that are working with you, the people that are working for you and the team, and also creating abundance for their stories. It's just like win 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 win. I don't know how many wins, I lost count. So
Yeah,
congratulations on your success. Thank you so much for taking the time. And like I said, Becky and I will do our best to be available on social media. So if you have any comments, questions, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be every Tuesday at 2:15 Pacific time. I'll have another guest next week, Lester Morales from Puerto Rico, and how he has actually been able to help more people, specifically in Puerto Rico and around the United States. And we'll have him next week. So tune in 2:15 Pacific time next Tuesday. Thank you again, Becky.
thank you, Steve.